driving force in professional wrestling. Welcome to episode 3 of the driving force in professional wrestling. Now this week I'm not going to do my Ollywood power ranking, as honestly I found it very difficult to pick out a real significant standout top 5. So instead I'm going to focus on this past week in professional wrestling, a lot of talking points, and also the upcoming Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which is tomorrow evening for us in the UK, very late tomorrow night. This past week in professional wrestling we've had a lot going on, significantly with implications going into WrestleMania and setting up some very intriguing storyline for the continuation of WrestleMania season over this next couple of months. If anybody was going to sit at the top of a power ranking this week, in fact, let's just jump in, let's have a power ranking, but let's focus purely on number 1. Going in at number 1 this week, Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston, for years now, has become the legend of the Royal Rumble. The Rumble spot monkey. Highly entertaining. We know he's been a good wrestler. He's been a good wrestler ever since back in the days that he used to be Jamaican. And then I think possibly Ghanaian, which I presume he still is. Anyway, what with pancake throwing and New Day rising to the top of the tag team division on several occasions now, he's not really been considered any sort of high level front runner in singles competition. However, perhaps that just changed. What with Mustafa Ali's unfortunate injury, potentially concussion, he was ruled out of tomorrow's Elimination Chamber. Consequently, they needed a replacement. Very good choice, as it turned out, was Kofi Kingston. This meant Kofi also took part in the gauntlet match, the 6-man gauntlet match, to determine placement going into the Elimination Chamber match. Who would come out and wrestle first, who would be released from the pod last, and so on. Well, Kofi lasted over an hour, defeating the likes of Daniel Bryan, which was a hugely significant victory. The biggest, most significant victory of this past week's wrestling, undoubtedly. He also defeated Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe. Mad, but that was very well done. Samoa Joe had him in the coquina clutch. Looked like it was lights out. He managed to flip over, sort of back rolled, and consequently, by pushing his feet off the second or top rope over in the corner of the ring, slamming Joe down and managing to keep his shoulders to the ground while still trapped in the coquina clutch. Joe didn't let go, because this is Joe. Got the 1, 2, 3, fantastic. So Kofi eventually would be eliminated by AJ Styles after having gone an hour of competition. He must have been exhausted. Great showing, looked strong, pulled out a whole repertoire of moves, before eventually Randy Orton, the RKO out of nowhere, trademark stuff from the WWE these days, massive YouTube fame, the RKO out of nowhere. Yeah, he popped up whilst AJ Styles was awaiting his arrival, from behind AJ Styles, beat him, so therefore we get Randy Orton coming out last in the Elimination Chamber. So there we have it, so far as that match is concerned. It was fantastic. Now, talking about the implications going forward, we've got, Team Vegan Extreme, Daniel Bryan, and currently flanked by Rowan. We've been expecting Luke Harper to show up any day now. Now, whilst this wasn't, as far as we know, planned very far in advance to have Kofi take this spot, because from what we understand, Mustafa Ali was due to be in that position in the gauntlet, which would not have created, of course, this Kofi hype, this buzz, and Therefore stands to reason what I'm going to say next would have been completely discounted and out the window. New Day would have no doubt been in something completely different. But as a consequence of Kofi being installed in that match and putting in such a damn good showing, defeating Daniel Bryan, I think we may end up at next month's March pay-per-view, the last before WrestleMania, getting D-Bry versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. I hope so. It'll be awesome. That also opens up the potential over the next 3-4 weeks to have a running program between Vegan Extreme and the New Day. Now it's currently 2-on-3, but as we expect, enter Luke Harper. 3-on-3, Vegan Extreme versus the New Day. We get some great tag matches, individual matches between any number of potential opponents within that 6. And then we have Fastlane. D-Bry no doubt retains, probably after a hard-fought contest and in slightly shady circumstances, I imagine. I don't know, sometimes they surprise us. He beat AJ clean once, which I suppose levels things out with AJ having beaten D-Bry clean once as well. But nevertheless, who knows what will happen with regard to the Kofi D-Bry match. I think you probably want D-Bry going into Mania pretty strong. I don't think Kofi will be his opponent there, but it's going to be damn cool to have him fight for the title at Fastlane, and it'll probably no doubt only further the guy's current modern day 2019 credibility. All about that. Rennie Young is here for it. Okay, now I'm actually going to move swiftly on, which is going to cover another wide-arcing topic running up to Mania with my Ollywood walk of shame for this week. Now, slightly different from the last 2 weeks where I was just quite pissed off with people. Not necessarily pissed off with her so much, but she represents disappointment and ill feeling, and going in this week is Charlotte Flair. In you go. Boo the woo Charlotte. So she has been installed into the Mania main event. We saw this coming. Becky has been kicked out by VKM, our Lord and Saviour, Vince McMahon. This is a bit of intriguing and good fun storytelling. We've also got, tomorrow night at Elimination Chamber, Ronda defending that Raw Women's Championship against Ruby Riott. Now, Ronda, we presume, goes on to defend this title at Mania. That's been what's been alluded to this whole time against Becky, and now instead Charlotte. What I would like to see happen here, because we all really want Becky versus Ronda at Mania, that's the money match. This rise of Becky Lynch and the potential for her taking on the undefeated and, for all intents and purposes, much like Brock Lesnar is revered, the undefeatable Ronda Rousey, legit badass, toughest woman on the planet, baddest woman on the planet, and all the rest of it. Well, the rise of Becky Lynch, the hype behind it, the attitude, the charisma, the personality, and she's damn good in the ring too. You throw all those components together, and we haven't had such a meteoric rise in a wrestler, a WWE superstar. I think you're looking at Roman Reigns, you're looking at AJ Styles, I think to a slightly lesser extent, but certainly also you're looking at Seth Rollins, for people that have shot up in that fashion. We've never had it from a female competitor, quite frankly, not to reach that standard. I feel like Ronda, she kind of had that feeling about her, and has had ever since she walked through the door, and it's been nothing but entirely impressive the whole duration that she's been with the WWE. Even Charlotte, even Asuka, who are amazing wrestlers, they don't just quite capture that same level as what Becky has ascertained. So you take Becky, you take Ronda, and I personally believe that is the only women's match ever in the history of professional wrestling that has the power behind it to main event a WrestleMania. Ronda versus Charlotte, not the same, not so much. You know, if we've got a scoring system of 1 to 10, Becky versus Ronda hits the 10, pushes right through the ceiling and smacks up 100. Tiger uppercut, 100. Whereas Charlotte versus Ronda, it's an 8 or a 9. It's exciting. We want to see it. Damn, it's going to be cool. But no, thank you. So I think, and this is a bit of booking, we could get Ronda losing to Ruby Riott at the Elimination Chamber. Imagine that. Ruby Riott, the new Raw Women's Champion. No doubt in shady circumstances. No doubt in a highly competitive, fantastic match. But what we get is Ruby's squad coming out. Maybe we get Becky Lynch coming out. Maybe we get them all coming out. And somehow, Ruby scrapes through a victory, taking the belt off of Ronda. Doesn't harm Ronda. No, she still looks strong. She probably beat the hell out of a few of them by way to this happening, as well as giving a real good showing against Ruby Riott, and probably having her own victory snatched from her grasp at the last. So I think that could what happen. That'd be awesome storytelling, and a real twist in the tail heading into Mania. Because now we get this week's Walk of Shamer, Charlotte, who's another one that I just love to hate, much as her father was. Something about the Flairs. Oh, I love to see them lose, but goddamn, I also really enjoy them. I mean, that limousine riding, whew, son of a gun, what a guy. Love to hate him, love to hate Charlotte. Shows what a good job they're doing ultimately though, doesn't it? D-Bright's doing that these days. Well done, Team Vegan Extreme. Well done, D-Bright. Well done, the World Heavyweight Championship. But anyway, back to my point. At Mania, we get Charlotte versus Ruby Riott. Oh man, imagine the disappointment in Charlotte when that happens. I mean, no doubt she'll still want to try to take that title. Yeah, it's a good consolation prize, but she wants the main event. She wants Ronda Rousey in the main event. Don't give it to her. Okay, just got to check I don't crash the car. Just a moment now. Change of gears. And we're off! Full steam ahead. Okay, back to the wrestling. So, that's that taken care of. Opens up Ronda, a title-less Ronda, who's potentially taking a hiatus from the company after Mania. So, you know, again, this makes sense. You've made Ruby strong. You've given her a bit of character. Maybe she retains against Charlotte at Mania. Can you imagine? Whoa, that'd be cool. Okay, we've got Charlotte, strong position. We know Becky's in a strong position coming out of Mania. We've built that women's division up, haven't we? Superb stuff. So if Ronda's going on a hiatus, as we've been led to believe, to return some point down the line, you know, the path has been laid going into the next several months. And we still got a lot of stickiness between Charlotte and Becky, a lot of ill feeling. And because we know Charlotte's going to be pissed off. If what happens is we get something along the lines of perhaps the suspended Becky Lynch versus a furious Ronda Rousey on a warpath over the month or two that follows Elimination Chamber and her unjust defeat. We get Ronda versus Becky main eventing WrestleMania in an unsanctioned match. Now, how you make the unsanctioned match a Mania main event, I don't know. But wouldn't it be cool if this match was alluded to, it was threatened, but never even officially put on the card? So we have our Brock versus Rollins main event, last match on WrestleMania. But once that's over, boom, Becky's music hits. Out she comes. Lays down the challenge to Ronda. Boom! Ronda's music hits. Out comes Ronda. We have an unsanctioned special main event at WrestleMania 35, live in front of the Good Brothers. Brother Ollie, Ollywood, Hart Stockwell, brother Chris, 24 Karat Kenny. New York, MetLife Center, April 7th, 2019. Can I get a hell yeah? I think we can. And on that note, I'm signing off for another week of the driving force in professional wrestling. Boom! Hope you've enjoyed the show, and may your palm be lined with gold.